Tyvis, you mentioned Will Howard. I want to give a little sneak peek behind the scenes of UCSS. I'm pretty sure Jay would draft him number 1 overall tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
If given the opportunity before the playoffs started. He had a mid day 2, day 3 grade, 3rd, 4th round, somewhere in that range, depending on what service you looked at. But fast forward to today, guys, what is Will Howard's draft stock? How much has it risen, and should he be on the Browns' radar as they look to find their quarterback of the future in the draft?
Before you guys answer that question, let me just say this. Earlier I said the way teams hire coaches is stupid. The way we in the media, with very few exceptions, analyze the draft is also very stupid.
Yeah.
Most of us who don't know well, see, I keep it real more than anybody else in America. I don't know shit about these players. I don't know if my first reaction to Will Howard being drafted number 1 was, that's the most ludicrous thing I ever heard. And then I said to myself, why is that ludicrous? If you asked me to break down why Will Howard is better or worse than Shedeur Sanders, I can't do it. I didn't watch. I mean, I watched Will Howard. I don't know if I watched Shedeur Sanders play more than 1 game this whole season. I can't reasonably break it down. Plus, I didn't play football. Okay, first of all, you have to have that knowledge of playing at some high level. I think minimum, and we base our opinions, many of us, on what the mock drafts say, which is stupid. This is not to say that Will Howard should be the 2nd pick in the draft. I have no clue if he's. Everybody seems to think he's not worthy. Maybe he's not. But to just say he's not because Dane Brugler and Mel Kiper, and no offense to those guys, they work hard and they deserve credit. But guys in the NFL who have done this their whole lives, GMs, get it wrong all the time. All the time.
Especially on quarterbacks.
Especially on quarterbacks. Yes, there's a lot of quarterbacks that get drafted high that are great. Most of the great quarterbacks in the NFL were drafted in the 1st round. There's also a ton of first-round quarterbacks that suck, that are terrible, that had no business.
The reality of it, Bull, is
round.
that a lot of people, a lot of talking heads, including us,
Yeah.
have conversations that feel like that we know these players, when the reality is a lot of us don't even know the height and weight of these kids.
No, and we have, and the advantage that the NFL people have is they get to know, like you really, unless you know the player, you don't know what he's made of. You don't know his heart. Like these things are important.
Totally a box of rocks. The kid could be a turd.
Exactly.
But we don't know.
We don't know
we
that.
just think the kid he looks good
That's
on ESPN.
Right. And you guys, at least, you guys played in the NFL. G played at a high level of college football. Most of us didn't do anything. Maybe played in high school. I didn't play in high school, but most people didn't play in high school.
We know you were a good enough athlete to play in high school. If you
of course.
Yeah.
I should have played in high school.
So but let's ask the football guys.
Tyvis,
what do you think of Will Howard and his potential future as an NFL quarterback? And not saying it too, but is this a guy the Browns should legitimately have on their radar at some point in the draft?
I'm going to be honest. At the beginning of this, I said, before the CFP started, Will Howard to me is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football, because if you look at his numbers and you compare him to a guy like Dylan Gabriel, who was a Heisman guy, about the same. Like the numbers is pretty similar. Actually, like from a completion
but it can't just
percentage.
be about the numbers, right? Because he's got Will Howard's got more talent around him than anybody else.
True. Wait, so Dylan Gabriel don't?
I don't know.
Yeah, he does.
I'm not going to lie. I don't even know who Dylan Gabriel is.
He's the Oregon quarterback.
I had no idea. I forgot. That's how locked in I am.
So Dylan Gabriel,
credit. You remember
Dylan Gabriel finished as like I think he finished like 4th or 5th in the Heisman this year or something like that. He was a really good quarterback, really good. He's known for his accuracy. Yeah. But if you look at Will Howard's accuracy, the percentages is pretty darn
70%
close.
70% pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think he's 73%. Yeah. So to be honest with you, Will Howard is a quarterback that, he made this statement like a week or two ago. He was like, his only thing that he regrets is the fact that he only has like 1 or 2. He was saying this before the Natty. I only got 1 game left with these guys and his coaching staff, because he's realized, if you watch Will from week to week, from what he was in Akron to what he is now, the fact that he was able to transform himself into this quarterback that he is currently in just 1 year, like, I think, to me, it shows that I don't know what they was teaching at K-State, and this ain't a knock on K-State at all, but I don't know what y'all was teaching him at K-State. Clearly, his mind was blurred. It sounded like the Sam Darnold thing when Aditi talked about Sam Darnold when he got to San Francisco. It sounded like the exact same thing happened to Will Howard where he got to Ohio State, that Chip and Ryan like used phrase and taught him things that he never knew, and that's why he got so much better over the years. So I say all that to say, if I was taking Will Howard, I would have him in like the 3 to 5 round range. If I'm the Browns, absolutely. I think y'all should take 2 quarterbacks in this draft because I don't think y'all have 1 quarterback on y'all roster right now to begin with. So I would go take one with the second pick, and I'd take him if he's available in the 3rd or 4th, 5th round.
A little RG3 Kirk Cousins type of situation.
I'll say this much. I agree with you guys for the most part. Like, I don't know if Will Howard's going to be a great pro. I mean, I think he gets a chance. I mean, every guy that can go lead a team like Ohio State to a national championship and have a run like that and to have such an impact on the team, he wasn't along for the ride. It wasn't like the quarterback from Michigan who just beat Ohio State. Like, you'll never remember that kid's name, most likely.
Yeah.
Because he didn't do a whole lot. He didn't put the team on his back. Like, Will did a lot to help facilitate this run. He's got great size at 6'4", 235. He's very athletic. He's got more than enough arm strength. And to be able to handle the adversity that they had to deal with from Michigan to now is amazing. So he's got some serious mental fortitude. He's a tough kid. I'd give him a chance. And this much I'd say about the Browns in terms of Will Howard. If there's anybody that should know every nook and cranny of Will Howard, it should be the Cleveland Browns. The kid's an hour and a half down the road. You can have a scout there every single day talking to this kid, figuring out how this kid ticks, what's going to, like, you should know. You have the closest proximity to know everything about the best players. I mean, not saying that the Browns should be filled with all Ohio State players. It's not the case. But you shouldn't let these guys fall through the cracks.
No, I'll tell you.
You're right on the fact that he's an hour and a half down the street. Because I know
2 hours.
2 hours, right?
I just
Tyvus would know.
Yeah, I just drove it. Stop playing.
He does it all the time. Hey, but listen, I'll tell you, the Steelers is looking. I tell you, the Pittsburgh Steelers is looking.
Sure they are.
They stay looking. And for me, I look at it this way. I think we put too much of the emphasis on the player or the players in general. There is going to be somebody in this draft, no matter where they are, that's going to be great. It's up to you to find them. And every quarterback is not a finished product. I've been so frustrated as we talk about quarterbacks getting into this draft, where it's a situation where we talk about, hey, he isn't good at pocket awareness. He takes too many sacks. He stares down at his receivers. Like, no quarterback is a finished product. That's what you have coaches for. Mm-hmm. If you don't have coaches that can coach players and get them to a certain extent, why are they there? It's not the guys. It's your ability to get through, put them in the best position to make plays, and that's so much what quarterbacking is about. Look, Will Howard, he's a guy that's growing. He's shown you he can grow from Kansas State. He was running the ball quarterback power 18 times a game in Kansas State. They wouldn't even put him in a position to throw the football. He's just now coming to his own throwing the ball and learning certain concepts. So, like I said with Tyvus, to me, there's going to be a process, and everybody should give themselves some leeway because the process has not begun. We still got a lot of information to get. You got your Senior Bowls, the Shrine Bowls, the Pro Days.
Which you're going to get a part of.
You're going to get a bunch of information, and as more information you get, you can be more credible in what you think.
And the Browns are one of the coaches
at the Senior Bowl.
Senior Bowls.
And the thing about because he was supposed to go to the Senior Bowl last year, and I think he didn't because he came to Ohio State.
Yeah.
So I would imagine he probably go this year. But I think the thing for him, what he has to prove, if I'm a scout, and y'all want me to be critical of Will, my question would be, can you win it without those type of receivers? Because it's no secret that you got the best wide receiving core in the country.
And backs.
So the throws is pretty wide open.
You got 2 backs.
You got guys that's gonna make.
Well, they weren't that wide open in Texas game, man. He had some tight windows. In that Texas game.
Yeah. But can he do that on a consistent basis? That's the question. So
I think there's a lot.
I don't want to cut you off, but to me, what I would say is I'm not looking at Will Howard to come in and be the starter right away. I don't think that's the case. If he wants to succeed in the NFL, to me, I think it depends on where he goes. He goes to a Kyle Shanahan. He goes to a Kevin O'Connell. These guys that's been known to groom up these quarterbacks correctly. I think if he gets in there and understands their terminology, I think, yes, he can be a successful quarterback in the NFL. But if he's going somewhere where it's just gunsling, all this and that, and you ain't got the weapons on the outside, I think he's going to struggle.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to look at Will Howard and say, you mentioned Cardell Jones, the brilliant run he had.
Never heard of him.
And Cardell didn't pan out in the NFL. Now, I don't know, maybe if Cardell had been in a better situation, maybe he would have.
I think if Cardell leaves after they win the Natty, he would have been drafted higher.
He certainly
it doesn't mean he's going to become a better player, but it's going to give him more opportunities.
Right. It would
have been drafted higher.
Exactly. So we'll
That's
never know. And you
That's
don't know.
Fair
I think a
statement.
lot of times the talent around is held against Ohio State quarterbacks, and the fact that outside of Stroud, no Ohio State quarterbacks have had success in the NFL ever, really. I think that's held against players, fair or not. I mean, I think that factors in to some degree. But in the end, what I would ask all you guys is, why are Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be, I'm just asking why are they first-round picks probably, and why is Will Howard a third and fifth
I'm going to
round
go
pick?
on a limb here and say that what we're talking about in terms of Cam and Shedeur is probably more further away from what the scouts think about those guys than what we're talking about. Like I don't necessarily think that everyone believes those guys are the top two guys or like the creme de la creme.
Right.
I personally think that those guys are the top two quarterbacks. Now, number one, they're good players, but number two, they've been talked about for multiple years.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been talking about Shedeur Sanders. His father is a Hall of Fame NFL player.
Yeah.
Okay. And this kid's been awesome from Jackson State to Colorado last year to Colorado this year to the run they've had. They've been basically plastered like the Los Angeles Lakers on ESPN. And then on top of that, you got Cam Ward, who has done some awesome things at multiple schools and has just continued to become this prize recruit, and then recruit because he got a lot of money going to Miami. And he turned you into nothing, into basically the best team they've had since Ken Dorsey was there.
Well, Cam Ward was balling at Washington State.
And we've talked about him since Washington State. So these guys have been on the radar. Will Howard played at K-State. Nobody thought this guy, who was a good player at Kansas State, was going to become an NFL player and lead a team like Ohio State to the Natty, and he did. So now I think there's going to be some stuff drumming up here over the next couple of months, and maybe he does get in that conversation. Right. We'll find out.
I guess my question is there a clear talent difference, or is it just a height difference?
I don't think so, Adam. I think if you put Will Howard on Miami or Colorado or vice versa, all these guys across the board, they're probably all going to win games.
I think the difference between the three quarterbacks, like if you see Cam Ward play, right? Cam Ward has times where you'd be like, wow, what the He just by sliding in the pocket, moving around, nonchalant, evading the rush.
He makes it look easy.
Throwing sidearm and looking away. You'd be like, what the heck? They had him dead to rights. Like his arm angles, he throws it for man. Shedeur Sanders, he can throw a football, and you'd be like, man, he throws a beautiful deep ball. Like the ball it just seems like he put it in somebody's chest. Now, Will Howard is not asked to do those things. He's not asked to do that. He's like, listen, we got two backs in Henderson and Junkins. We're going to hand this ball off. You got Jeremiah Smith out there. We're going to throw it to him, and we're going to let him make some plays. Abuka. They got a lot of people that they spread around that he's not asked to do those specific things. But you also got to learn, though, just because you're not asked to do those things in college doesn't mean that's not in your tool bag. You just ain't seen it yet, and that's up for the Browns to figure out if that's in there in those workouts. And there's somebody, I tell you, there's somebody that's going to go day 2 or 3 that's going to be good.
I think it's interesting. Last thought, Mike, before we move on. If you look at the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now, Patrick Mahomes. He was highly thought of coming out of college.
When thought about that.
Dustin and I were on the radio. I don't think we ever discussed the Browns drafting Patrick Mahomes with the first overall pick.
Because we'd be like, he played at Texas Tech. They won 8 games. Like, he put up big numbers, but he played in the Big 12. Like, all these things we used to denigrate the guy.
Lamar
we
Jackson.
Didn't watch him play.
Lamar Jackson was the 5th quarterback taken in his draft. Josh Allen was 3rd or 4th?
There was a tweet.
What was he?
Josh was 3rd.
It was a tweet on Twitter. A guy said, everybody talking about how bad this draft is. This is the comments from 2018 when Josh Allen did his pro workout.
That's right.
People Browns fans up and down hated it. Unanimously.
Even Joe Burrow, who was considered the best player.
They couldn't get him anyway.
But no, I'm not saying from a Browns perspective. I'm just saying, look at these guys.
He came from nowhere.
They kind of all Burrow year before he was the first overall pick.
I seen it at Ohio State.
People were taught, but Tyvus, year before Joe Burrow went 1 overall, he was being thought of as a mid-round pick.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
He
very
wasn't
true.
thought. Then when he was thinking,
Fifth round.
even after his first year at
I want it on
LSU.
record that in 2016 I was watching spring practice and he made this incredible throw, and I told my wife that day that he was winning the Heisman. Just want to make
There you
sure
go.
that I
You
got
got
that
it, but
on
nobody else
record
did.
that I
Even
said that.
look at the two best quarterbacks the last 2 years. C.J. Stroud, second quarterback taken, not first. This past year, Jaden Daniels, best rookie quarterback, second quarterback, not first. None of these quarterbacks, except for Burrow in his last year only, had the crazy hype that some of these other quarterbacks have had, and yet they're the best quarterbacks in the league.
And then you wonder why everybody say this quarterback class is weak.
Yeah, and it may be. Maybe they all gonna suck. I don't know, but that's rare.
It's that,
That's very rare.
When's the last time like every quarterback
It's
just went that
the
great?
Kenny
The
Pickett,
year was bad, and the
Mac
E.J.
Jones year.
And E.J. Manuel.
Geno
that
Smith year was bad. I think he was the first
Yeah,
quarterback. in the
Geno,
second
that was a
round.
bad draft.
Yeah.
Geno was the best
It
of the
happens
bad
every
lot.
once in a while.
But it's very
rare.
rare that there's no good quarterbacks in a draft.
Who was the second quarter? Was Malik Willis the second quarterback taken that Kenny Pickett?
No,
Kenny
third.
Pickett.
Was he third?
No, I think he was second.
Kenny was the only first one. Was the only first rounder. I think.
Yeah.
And they didn't take
I'm
another
looking
until
it
like
up
the
right now.
third or
Hold on.
fourth.
Didn't the year
It
Sam
was
Bradford
crazy.
get drafted, all the quarterbacks turn out to be busts too?
That was Brad. I can only have so many tabs.
Yeah,
at
yeah,
once.
yeah.
Sting being a part
Well,
of
it's
it.
Kenny Pickett, it was Mac
09.
Jones.
That was 09 Bradford year.
No,
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett wasn't Mac Jones. Mac
was it the
Jones
same
was
year?
the same year as Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones.
Yeah,
There's
that
five
draft's pretty
quarterbacks,
bad too.
5 in the top 15.
So-
only one is a legit starter, and we have our questions about Trevor
And he's
Lawrence.
a question mark, yeah.
So why do you believe that so many people now advocate not even looking at the quarterback?
Gee, real quick, Desmond Ritter was the second quarterback.
Ah,
in the
yes.
draft.
Yeah.
Shout out to Atlanta.
You know what it tells me? That literally, I blame the college coaching. I do. The development of quarterbacks is down. It's really
Dustin's talked about it. It's
I
the
talked about it.
transferring.
Yeah,
Dustin
I
had
think
a
it's
great point on
difficult
it.
that these guys can develop and have you need to have a consistent voice in your head.
Yeah, that makes it
when
hard.
you play that position to understand and teach to be taught how to play the position. It's different when these guys are continually moving year after year, especially at such an influential time for a player before he gets to the NFL.
Yeah, and we see it. It's almost going to become in a way like college basketball, where it's harder to tell now. Like 30 years ago, it was much easier to draft NBA players because they had played 3-4 years in college. You had a much better feel for them. Now, a guy plays 1 year, he might play 15 games. You know, Kyrie Irving, who turned out to be a great player,
like
but
10 games.
he barely played in college.
It's such a projection.
Yeah.
Especially in college basketball, because these kids play 25, 30 games.
Yeah.
You are projecting skill sets
That's right.
and how you think things translate.
Yeah.
And the reality is how you think something will translate from point A to a massive step up in competition does not always equate. And it's the same thing with high school recruiting. How many 5-star quarterbacks end up transferring
Right.
4 or 5 times because it doesn't work out the first
I know.
school?
Whenever I see people getting excited about like recruiting rankings, I'm like, this is so stupid.
But a lot of times, there are 5 stars that hit. And
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith, for example, the highest rated receiver ever coming out of high school, goes on to become
he's
the
a
best
stud.
freshman in college football.
I think
It's an imperfect science at the end of the day.
I think, yes, you want a guy to be good. You want him to have certain skill sets. But I also think that when you get in the NFL, I think teaching is out the window. Like, everyone wants to be a CEO. I want to be CEO. I want to be no. I need you to get. You have to know that if you draft a quarterback, you may have to start from ground zero. You may have to start with footwork. You may have to start with this is how you watch film. You're going to have to start with all this good stuff. Like, I get the fact that you want Peyton Manning. There ain't that many of them out there. So what you're going to have to do is either you're going to develop somebody that's a veteran, that is a retread, or you're going to draft a young guy.
But you know what? The quarterback thing is so interesting to me because nowadays, like, you got a quarterback coach, but then these quarterbacks got their own guy.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of the times I wonder how much of those, like, is the quarterback coach and the quarterback trainer, are they in link step or is
That's when you need those guys to be in lockstep and to actually communicate.
Probably
I think
a
back in
problem
the
when it's
day,
not.
these coaches used to have like this gatekeeper mentality about this is my guy, this is my the coach in the league versus the private coach. Now I think these guys are starting to work together and get on the same page more so. That's allowing these kids to have success. One thought just came to mind, guys, about a player that I never thought was going to be a good pro. And he also played at multiple schools, one at a high level, but I didn't think Jalen Hurts was going to be a good pro. The guy's been to a Super Bowl and is about to maybe go to another one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was going to be a good pro either.
I didn't think he had the skill set to throw the ball consistently. I knew he could run the ball. I thought he might be a trick guy or a backup,
It's
but
a lot of Philly fans that's like, he still ain't good.
Yeah.
Maybe so. I was booed there in my first game, and they didn't know my name. So
Boo.
they just boo because they want to boo.
Yeah.
Blow the whistle.